Hello, welcome. Today's book review is going to be on V Games by Caroline Peckham. I believe it's actually going to be an entire V Games trilogy, but I'm only reading this book and I'll explain why. It's not a bad series, it's just not something that really suits me, and I'll talk about the whole thing. There are going to be spoilers in this review because I'm going to explain my opinion about the whole thing. There's a girl named Selena, and she goes to jail for 25 years for killing her stepfather. About halfway through the book, you're going to find out that he was trying to rape her and she stabbed him. The jury didn't believe her, and that's why she ended up in prison. While she's in prison, she has a cellmate named Cassandra. They call her Cass, and she actually ends up being a really big part of the book. While Selena's in prison, there's a really odd roll call one evening in the middle of the night. There's a man who goes up and down the rows of women and has a really odd interaction with Selena. He ends up playing a really big part of the series. His name is Varric, and he chooses the women that's going to participate in the V Games. The next time Selena wakes up, she's on a ship, and then she realizes that Varric's there and she's being kidnapped. She'll get put back to sleep, and then the next time she wakes up, she's on an island. Once she's dressed, she's brought in front of a group of people who explain to her that she has two choices. She can either go back to prison and live out the 25 years, or she can participate in the V Games, and if she wins, if she survives, she'll be able to go free. And apparently all of the women were given the same choices. That whole thing, I have no problem with. I know it sounds crazy, but at that point you don't know if they know that Selena's actually innocent or not. And the truth is that I thought it was going to turn out to be a really good series. The writing style that Caroline used for this novel was really incredible. I thought it was going to turn out to probably be another Hunger Games for me. At this point, that's what I was thinking. As the novel continues and before the V Games start, you are aware of the fact that all of the women are participating willingly. I mean, granted, their other option is to go to prison, but they're all choosing to participate, and that they've all come from different female prisons. And I think that the idea was you're going to be comfortable with them participating because it's not innocent people, they're prisoners. The problem is some of these women are innocent, and as this continues, it started to feel like there was a pattern that each of these women had something done to them by a man that got them into the situation. And maybe that'll play a part in one of the other books, but in this one, it didn't. I'm going to give you a couple of examples so that you understand why I feel that way. Cass is a little bit more tricky. She did light an apartment complex on fire. It was an accident. She meant to light her ex-boyfriend's apartment on fire when she found out that he was cheating on her, but the entire complex went in flames, and obviously that's going to lead to her getting in trouble. Then you have Selena, and I told you her story. She killed her stepfather after he tried to rape her, so obviously she's innocent. There's these other two women. One of them was being abused by her boyfriend. The other one went to go help her, and the two of them end up killing the boyfriend together. Not like in a malice way. He was chasing after them. One of them hit him with the car, and the other one starts stabbing him. Granted, she kind of lost it, but as I said, there's a clear role that the men are playing in getting these women in prison. And I feel like maybe it would have been better if I just didn't know why they were in prison, or they were psychotic. Like if these were crazy women, maybe they had psychotic breaks, or they chose what they did that led them to prison. For instance, maybe they were selling drugs or something, then I wouldn't have become so attached to them. But because I felt like it was other people's behaviors and situations that they couldn't control and they were put in, like I said, being abused or having your stepfather try to rape you, it felt like they didn't deserve to be part of the V Games, and the whole time it was really difficult to read things happening to them. But then on top of that, while they participate in the V Games, they really do try to help each other. There are some women who are very selfish, and there are some times certain people are selfish, but overall they do try to help each other. And I think that it really makes you fall in love with these characters, and then when, you know, a vampire eats them, it's difficult to read, is all I'm saying. Anyways, as the games continue and people are dying, it was difficult for me to read, but I still really enjoyed the writing, and I thought it was all leading to a really big twist. I thought Selena was going to turn out to be a witch or something. Let me explain why. So Varric, the vampire, was really attracted to Selena from the very beginning, and talk about how she smelled and stuff like that, and gave her the warning that she needed to find a way to cover up the smell of her blood because all the rest of the vampires were going to be attracted to it. So here I am thinking there's something unique, special about her. Then there's this one time when a vampire drinks from her and really does go crazy. And so you get this feeling that she is special. Then you find out more towards the end of the book that it's actually because Selena's a virgin. There's this whole conversation about how vampires are more attracted to virgin blood. Now, the blood itself, once vampires start eating from her, is supposed to fulfill a prophecy, and that's a whole different thing. But I didn't like the fact that the reason they were attracted to her was because she was a virgin. That was a really big letdown to me, especially because here I am thinking she's going to be a witch, and the reason that this vampire's reacting so weird when he bit her was because there's a curse that the ancestors put on her blood so that vampires wouldn't drink from them or something. And then it was a virgin thing. And that just, I didn't like it. And if her blood was supposed to fulfill this big prophecy, then have them be attracted to her because her blood is cursed with this prophecy, not because she's a virgin. That whole part could have been left out and I would have been happy. Caroline does write it so that Varric and Selena have a little bit of a romance, an attraction at the very least, but I like that she kept it light because it wouldn't have made sense for Selena to be running for her life and pining away for a vampire. At the same time, I liked that Varric broke some of his rules to help Selena and save her life a couple of different times. That was a really nice addition. Now, the ending of the book is when I decided I wasn't going to finish the series, so this is what I want to focus on. There were several different things. The first of which was, as I mentioned, after they get to this tower, they're all supposed to be safe. Any woman who survives the vampires is supposed to be able to go free. And unfortunately, once they make it to the tower, they have all of these different levels that they have to pass. That itself I wouldn't have had a problem with, except the way that it's set up is so that not all of the women can make it. There are 4 of you. Only 3 of you can proceed to the next level. You guys have to choose which one dies. Clearly, not everyone's going to make it. That stuff, it really irritated me. The very, very top, I'm about to have a really big spoiler, so if you don't want to know the very, very ending part, don't listen to this. Anyways, they have to jump from the top of a building to a helicopter and make it. One of the girls actually dies because she cannot jump from the top of a building to a helicopter. What a stupid way to have people die. I did not like that as the way that the game ended. But then, once they finish the games, it gets worse. It turns out that the first night after the end of the V games, you're given to Varric, the vampire, for him to feed on. And then the second night, you are given to whichever guy voted on you for him to basically have sex with. After you have survived a week on an island of vampires, then you're fed on by a vampire, then somebody essentially rapes you. Now you get to go free. That was crazy to me. So clearly I wasn't in love with the way that chose to end. There is like a side story where there's werewolves, and although you don't really get into the werewolf story, at the end this guy switches from a wolf to a human, and so clearly that's what the next book is going to have in it, and I do really like that idea. I like the idea of the vampires, and quite frankly, I didn't have any problem with the V games. It was just those turns that the stories took that I didn't really care for, especially when they had to jump to the helicopter. That irritated me probably more than it should have. And then after all that stuff that was going to happen when they officially won, and Varric does tell Selena, don't be the first one to make it onto the helicopter, because it's the very first person on the helicopter that ends up, given to him for the blood and then given to the man. But, I don't care. It's completely unnecessary, especially because this is all of the V games are supposed to be put on by the family that hunts the vampires. So the whole thing was not my favorite, shall I say. I think that I'm going to stick to other fantasy series. That being said, if anyone has finished the series and did like it, feel free to write comments underneath here. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below. If you like this review, go and like it. And if you want to see my reviews every week, subscribe. Thank you all for joining me. I will see you again soon.